We're here at the Thai Entertainment Complex Roundtable. I'm speaking to Kun Parit. Parit, you've been one of the more vocal, opponents, or you've certainly questioned the law passing through Parliament at the moment. Can you tell me a bit about what your main concerns are?
Yep. So I think I am from the People's Party, and we have been quite vocal in that we disagree and have deep concerns about the current government's policy and handling of this entertainment complex and casino policy. I think our concerns are threefold. The first is we see that the economic benefits that the government is referring to are relatively unclear. On the one hand, the government has not done a thorough feasibility study that highlights what the economic benefits would entail. But on the other hand, we see that the studies performed by private sector that the government often refers to are based on assumptions that are no longer in line with the details in the government's bill that's been approved by the cabinet and being sent to parliament. And we see that the government has also not factored in certain trends or recent trends in tourism that may impact the cost-benefit analysis of this entertainment complex issue, especially what we see recently of the Chinese government's effort to, curtail Chinese people from traveling to countries that have legal casinos and has already impacted many countries over the past few years. The second concern we have is that the government does not have tangible measures in terms of how to prevent social issues that may be at higher risk if a casino is legalized, whether it's on problem gambling, whether it's on money laundering. The current law that the government is proposing to Parliament and has been approved by the Cabinet does not have clear enough regulations or measures to prevent those issues. Most of it has been pushed to the responsibility of the soon-to-be set-up super board that will look after this. So there's no guarantee written in law that the measures that we talk about that are essential to preventing these problem gambling or money laundering issues will be in place. And the third and final concern we have is the process under which the government has taken to push this policy, I think, has led to public mistrust. The policy was not included in the manifesto. The government then, pushed through this policy without consistent communication and consistent principles. And we also see that there was an accelerated effort to fast-track this bill ahead of other bills that are already in place, which then raised the question of the government's motivation regarding this issue. So those are the three concerns that we have, and there are deep concerns that mean that we currently cannot agree with what the government is doing.
From an international perspective, we read about the divergent viewpoints of the coalition versus the opposition parties. As a representative of opposition parties, are you opposed to the idea of entertainment complexes with casinos, or is it more the way the current law has been put together?
Well, firstly, I think the disagreement is not just between the government and the opposition. There are actually disagreements within the government as well. Secondly, to answer your question, I think it's hard to draw a line between, or to separate clearly between the concept and the process, because I think the three concerns that I raised earlier are very core concerns that I think mean that for me it's hard to pinpoint whether it's an objection to the concept or an objection to the process. I think it's a combination of both, which means that we cannot agree with what the government is doing right now.
Sure. We just saw a very interesting discussion between yourself and others and some of the best global operators in the world. Did you take anything from that? Did you learn anything about global best practice and how they approach this in other jurisdictions?
Well, before I make any comments and have a perspective on this policy, of course I studied some of the practices done by operators around the world, and I think today saw more glimpses of that. But I think what operators do cannot replace or substitute the role that the state has to play in terms of coming up with regulations and a governance structure that will protect the benefit of the people in that country. So as much as I understand that operators will do their best to prevent the social problems that may arise out of it, but that alone is not enough. We also need the regulator to be stringent on this. And I think that's what I have seen lacking with this current government. And I think probably the biggest takeaway I took from this is that the economic forecast that was shown by the private sector I think emphasizing the fact that the government has not been straightforward with this policy. Because we saw in the morning some private sector analysts confirm that everything that we've talked about today will only come true if there are Thai players in that casino. This is already not in line with the current government's bill, which clearly states that if you are a Thai person, you can only enter if you're one of the 10,000 people in the country that have more than 50 million baht deposited in their account for more than 6 months. So there is this mismatch between what the end picture the government is trying to sell in terms of what the entertainment complex could look like and the contents of the bill, which I think emphasizes the fact that the government has not been straightforward in the way it's handled this process.
So just last question for you, Parit. Do you feel there is a way forward for this legislation potentially that could potentially make you a little more at ease with how things might look moving forward?
I mean, I think the government has been pretty adamant that they will push ahead with this bill. They've always tried to respond to criticisms by saying that will all be addressed in committee stage. For me, that's not sufficient because if it were to be approved in principle and passed on to the committee stage, I think there are many observations that we have made or criticisms that we have that cannot be reversed. So I think if the government continues like this, it's hard for us to support.
All right, Parit. Well, thank you. We appreciate you giving your views. Thank you.
Thank you.